We're live on YouTube, and my name is Wayne Stinnett, and this is the Talk Right podcast. And our guests this evening are Donnelly McKenna and her writing partner, Axel Blackwell, as well as my co-host, Nick Sullivan, and two of my co-writers, Kimberli Bindschatle and Stewart Matthews. So big hand for everybody. Now, Nick's talk, so I can share.
What? Oh, goodness gracious. Well, let's see. I'm very happy to see Kimberli again. I saw you down in Florida and was lucky enough to narrate your co-written charity.
Yes.
Which was great. And I'm waiting for the next one. And I have yet to read Dawn and Axel's duel, but I've heard fantastic things about it. Oops, I almost destroyed myself. And Stewart, I understand yours is coming pretty soon.
Yeah. Whenever I stop injuring myself needlessly, and yeah, I mean, whenever Wayne allows, Wayne keeps me in like a small chest, and he just brings me out. He's like, "I write something." I'm like, "Okay, sir. All right. Not again, please." So then, once he does that, it's good. We get underway and everything's cool. We just finished the first draft. Well, yeah, I wrote the ending. We did all the draft, and we revised it and stuff, and then I decided this book probably should have an end at the end. So that's what I did.
Dawn and Axel, how many have you done together?
Three. I'm currently working on number 4. My parts of number 4.
Uh-huh. Oh, when you say your part, is it like a shifting point of view, or do you?
No, not unless you count us as having a point of view. We found that what worked for us was for one of us to start, and we would write our parts, and anything we didn't want to write, we would just put a highlighted line of text saying, and then Axel does, and he would write the next scene. And so we basically had an outline and half a manuscript in one place. And so then whoever was the second one would go and just look for highlighted text, and they knew that was something they had to write. And it seems to work for us because the readers are really bad at telling who wrote what.
They don't think they are, though.
No, they think they've nailed it every time. And they're almost always wrong.
Yeah,
So
Stewart
I
does.
think that's a good thing.
Stewart does something similar. He'll be writing something, and then he'll get to a roadblock, and he'll type boat stuff. Wayne, you finish this.
Yeah. Yeah, I write cop stuff. I say cop stuff and send it back to Axel. And he says cat stuff and sends it back to me.
It's kind of like an inflatable outline. We just write the outline and then fill it in as we go.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And parts that I don't want to fill in, I send to Dawn, and she fills them in.
Yeah, it works. I mean, I don't think we've ever looked to see if one of us is writing more than the other or anything like that. It just works.
Do you?
He doesn't have to write the things. No, and in fact, one of my favorite characters to write is one that Axel came up with, and that was Sergeant Goff, and he's one of my favorites to write. I think we kind of maybe fight over him a little bit, but every scene that I write, though, Axel goes in and Axelizes it, so there's always some of him in every scene, and then everything he writes I Dawnify, so there's some of me in every scene. So really, I mean, we both write the whole thing, or at least in our minds, that's how it works out.
I put most of the work on Kimberli. She wrote virtually, well, I'd say probably 90% of Vigilant Charity. And I went through and made a few changes here and there and added a little bit here and there. But the bulk of the writing she did.
And putting the words down, both people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, putting the words down, but Wayne, you and I had really, I think that, our process was a little different than it's like Dawn and Axel's. We kind of had so many conversations and put the whole story together in our minds, you know, just in our conversations. And then I sat down and wrote it. So I think it was just a different process of envisioning and what was going to happen and how the characters were going to act. And that was all just the fun of creating it. So just another way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun writing with somebody else.
Yeah,
and
and
get
it was
on the phone and talk for, and
Yeah.
just talk for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden 2 hours have gone by.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say 2 minutes. Yeah, it was many hours. But for me, it was kind of it was a learning curve trying to really understand Charity, and you know, because she was your character to begin with, and she was already fully formed, but then where you wanted her to evolve and to kind of come out of her shell a little bit or become more open with her feelings. And so that was kind of, I think, an interesting transition to go to a co-author. Didn't you think, Wayne, it was kind of almost like something that you wanted to happen with her almost needed a little influx?
It was something that I just couldn't do. I mean, I can write just about any kind of bad guy, but writing from a woman's perspective in an emotional state is really difficult. And that's why I chose you.
And some of your readers didn't like it very much, but that's okay. I know that's where you wanted to take it. So.
But
Judging by the sales, they're coming around.
oh yeah, it's had great sales. It's been well, today, not today, but yesterday, Vigilant Charity was on Book Report. It was number 3 of all 23 books. It was the third highest money earner yesterday.
Great.
Woohoo!
I think a situation like that is like when you have a band you've been following, you know, forever, and they change the lineup, like they replace the guitars or like add something new into it. Like the gumbo is a little different. You know, they're adding a new ingredient in there, and it just takes a minute to get used to it. And then you realize, like, no, actually, this is really fucking good. I really like this. You know?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it, and it showed a side of Charity that nobody'd seen before. It had been hinted at in the Jessie stories, because Jessie's very, very close to her and understands her deeper than anybody else. But the side that I wanted her to come out, I just couldn't do it myself.
Well, and I sensed just in reading their stories previous to that they had a very special relationship that we couldn't quite put our finger on, which was an attraction, but yet neither one of them wanted to take it there. And so I thought it was interesting to keep that continuing, but as part of her struggle, you know, and this being his well, I don't know, we don't want to give away the plot, but as part of what was happening was very personal. So
I would,
and Jessie still doesn't know about it.
I would love to see the two of you do a dual POV prequel novella of that cruise that ends in Coburn Town in Grand Turk. The long cruise they took together tracking down a certain someone. Because we keep hearing about that cruise when Jessie talks about learning more and more about Charity and her personality.
Well, that was in what was it? Fallen. I forget which book, but it was in.
Well, we hear about the cruise, but you only flesh out the end of it. But kind of might be interesting to have the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean they were all over the place.
Some things are meant to be left a mystery.
I do that. I do that a lot, and mostly it's because I'm lazy. And, I hide that by saying, "Oh, that's a mystery."
What do they say in writing school? You know, at all these conferences, and that is, give the readers what they want, but never give them what they want. Something like that. You know,
yeah.
So they want these two characters to get together, but you know, once they do, then all the tension's gone or whatever. So you got to walk that line, right?
Well, Jessie is finally settling down, so the group is growing, but he is definitely settling down. He's got curtains in his house.
say it isn't so.
Is that the qualifier now?
Yeah.
Well, Dawn, do you come up with the initial plot, or has Axel come to you with some of these and said, hey, you know what might be neat?
I think it's 50-50. I think I came up with one and he came up with one and I came up with the one we're working on now. I'm not sure about the third one. I think I did the first one, he did the second one, but I mean, we never have all of it on our own. We get on the phone and we just start riffing off each other, and next thing you know, we've got a full-bodied plot. This fourth one was originally, we were kind of thinking it was going to be the last one. So it started out being kind of a wrap up with some of the personal arcs. But then the series is doing so well and we're having so much fun with it. We're like, well, no, never mind. We'll just keep writing it. But it
That's
does.
how I ended up on book 18.
Well, yeah. I did the same thing with my original series. I thought it was only going to be 4. But yeah, I think we're about 50-50, aren't we, Axel?
Yeah, the way that I remember it, you and I really built the first book kind of a scene at a time until we had a plot together. And then book 2 was mainly your plot and I contributed. Then book 3 was mainly my plot and you contributed.
So you were
and
three,
then
yeah.
you've got the book 4 pretty much figured out. And then Dawn and I were joking about titles with the word dead in them and kicking that back and forth just with silly jokes. And I said we need to come up with one called Dead Ringer. And she decided that we wanted to have a telemarketer murdered.
Yeah.
Murdered telemarketer. And I liked that idea so much. I told her, well, we got to do a book 5.
Yeah.
And it's going to be,
That's
yeah.
right.
So.
Well, and also we promised the readers that for book 5 we were going to address Hurricane Michael, because
that's right.
the marina where our character lives is not there. Every boat sank to some degree. I think there were 2 that were salvaged, and the marina's not reopened. So,
Oh, wow.
Port St. Joe, where it's set, got hit really hard. So that took us a while to figure out how we wanted to address that, because neither one of us wanted to use it as part of a plot. We didn't feel like it should be entertainment. So we told the readers in the last book that book 5 was going to establish that the hurricane had happened between book 4 and book 5. And we would allude to the aftermath and, how everything is changing for the characters, without ever going through the hurricane, without ever talking about actually going with it in the book. I forgot my words. I need more wine out of my toddler cup. Which, seriously, toddler cup. Because I literally
Axel,
oh, is that
through
Paw
the
Patrol?
kitchen and down the stairs.
Oh, that is Paw Patrol.
Axel,
Is it
Badass.
Paw Patrol? Yeah. Okay.
Nick
Have
Harvey
I mentioned that
over
I have
on
5
YouTube.
grandchildren upstairs?
Nick Harvey on YouTube is asking Axel, "Are you on a stakeout?"
He does look kind of shifty.
Sorta.
Yeah.
I'm parked in the woods. I did get a steak out to eat later. But no, yeah, the boat doesn't have good internet during the tourist season. All the tourists are sucking up the good internet. So I'm out in the woods in my car. Had to find a place that had good internet and some shade. So yeah.
So he's
Okay,
basically staking
tell
out
the
a
viewers
signal.
about your boat. What kind of boat do you live on?
So it is a 42-foot Californian, Marshall Boat Company Californian LRC long-range cruiser. So the prior owner took it from here to Alaska and back. That's kind of what it's built for. I haven't taken it that far myself, but it's got a it's a twin prop. Nice big boat, a little bit bigger than what I needed because I haven't had a boat before. But I'm learning how to figure it out. I've replaced several engine components, which was exciting. I did the fuel injectors, did the cooling system on both sides, and one other thing. But I'm learning a lot about diesel engines and boats and such. So it's an adventure for sure.
Definitely an adventure.
Life imitating art. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was less expensive than buying or renting a crappy apartment in town, and a heck of a lot more fun. So the living
I would go
space
for
isn't
the
that
boat every
big,
time.
but what's that?
I would go for a boat every time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was going to say the living space is small, but the yard is really, really big.
I mean, compared to your books too, it's probably fewer murders.
I'm sorry?
So far.
Yeah. Oh, your boat.
In
Living
the
on your
marina?
boat. Yeah. Fewer murders in your book, I'm sure.
Oh,
Probably.
yes. Yeah. So far.
So far. Yeah.
And Steve Kittner and John Cunningham say hi to everybody, and Don Rich. And T. Tukes is back again. He's been with us every show. Doug
Encourage
Priest,
them to ask questions.
and my wife Greta's watching. Hi, hi.
Hey, Greta.
Okay, so we talked about your boat. Can you talk about your other job?
I would rather not.
Okay. We'll just
I
leave
do
it
work.
at that.
Yeah, I work in law enforcement, and one of the agreements, in order for them to let me have a side career, is I'm not supposed to discuss what I do for work with media people. So I guess we're all media people. So I can't even talk about it
definitely media.
myself at this point.
There was one thing I wanted to mention when hearing about you and Kimberli having your 2-hour phone conversations, Wayne, is that like I feel like every time we talk on the phone, it's like, hey, I think we should do this, and I'm like, yeah, we should do that, and then I'm like, I think we should do this, Wayne. And you're like, yeah, that's a great idea, and like that's it. Like dude, I've
You
never
need to look back at your phone records. Some of our calls have lasted a long time.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. I'm just saying, I think I'm amazed at like how in sync we have been, I think, with our overall ideas with this book that we're working on.
Yeah,
you know?
this book is really, really good.
I mean, we're both geniuses. You put that shit together, it's double genius.
Part of it's because Wayne's so easygoing.
It is.
You know,
It
like
is.
I'd throw out an idea and then
Yeah.
he'd never disagree. He would just take the idea and run with it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what if we added this? And then what if that happened? And then it would kind of spark something in my mind, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and then we could take it there. And it was almost like just a feeding frenzy of ideas. But I'm kind of wondering, Dawn and Axel, with you as well, do you consider one of you to be kind of a planner and one to be a pantser, and or are you both one or the other? And Stewart, you as well, because I know that it was interesting with Wayne and me that I'm a planner. I wanted everything plotted out, because just the way I write, I wanted to know every scene, what was going to happen. And then I sat down and wrote it pretty quickly, actually, because I just knew where I was going, and then I could put the words down. Where if there were holes in the plot, then I would get stuck and kind of lose my momentum. And I know Wayne kept saying, oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I couldn't work that way. So I kind of pressed him into, getting all the, big decisions made so we could just kind of, get words down.
Yeah.
And is that how you guys worked? And Axel and Dawn, is that?
Nope, not at all.
It sounded like you guys were sort of writing back, yeah.
No, which, I mean, I guess for the listeners is good. I mean, our processes are totally different. So they'll get something from you guys and maybe something from us. And as far as I recall, Axel is a pantser. I really want to outline, and when I wrote screenplays, I outlined every single scene before I wrote the first word. But I don't do that anymore.
Oh, for Axel.
I'm like a plotter with one pant leg on. So I'm like a little bit of each. I am a pantser until I get to the middle. I know the beginning and I know the end. And I might know some cat stuff or some personal stuff in the middle.
Chicken
But then
stuff.
when I get to the, yeah, and then when I get to the middle, I'm not sure how to get from there to the end. So then I outline. So yeah, I outline the second half of the book. And I think it's one of the things that I like about the books that I write with Axel is I don't have to write an outline. I write a scene and then I write another scene. And then I know that the next scene that makes sense is something I don't feel like writing. And so I get the highlighting out and I say, oh, and Axel writes, and then I move on to the next thing that I feel like writing. So like I say, we're kind of outlining as we go in a bit, a little bit with that. Not so much with plot, but with who's going to get stuck with what. So I like it. I kind of dump stuff on Axel, where I would get stuck in an outline is where I say, and then Axel comes up with something and there's guns and then I just move on. But I can't do that by myself. So I wing it until the middle and then I write an outline to get me to the end. Is basically what I do.
Oh, we lost Axel for a few minutes. The question is, are you a pantser or plotter?
Oh, geez. Yeah. The first two books that I wrote, totally pantsed them. I had a lot more fun writing that way, but it took a lot longer. And so the books that obviously I write with Don, we have to have some sort of structure that we're both working on. And then my current series that I write, I try to have a pretty good outline in place, just so I know what I'm writing next. I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what happens next. So writing for fun, I like to pants, but if I'm writing for my audience, it's plotted at this point.
And more to me and Wayne, I plot everything. I'm a plotter, man. I know that makes me a real son of a bitch, but it is what I do. I don't know. I mean,
I'm totally jealous.
I want to go back for a second when Wayne and I talk on the phone. We're on the phone, so I can't grab him by the shirt and be like, "Listen here, old man." But I do that verbally. Basically, is what I do. I just bully Wayne into doing whatever I want him to do, and he goes along with it, and hopefully it works in the end. I don't know. Wayne's very quiet over there. I'm not. Maybe I secretly am doing that. I don't know.
I'm going to remind him of this conversation when we're at the tiki bar at Nink. You want to grab his shirt now?
All of a sudden, I just hey Wayne, what's up, man?
I think that my writing changed my way of going about it, working with Wayne, working with a co-author, because yeah, I mean, I knew that I could rely on him if I got stuck on something, but at the same time, I didn't want to go off on a tangent that he didn't want, I guess. So I kind of wanted, I guess, approval up front of everything before I kind of sat down and started trying to work on it, or agreement, I guess would be the word. So I think that a little different than just, if I'm the one making all the decisions. So I think it kind of affected the way that I write overall.
Yeah.
Well, you had it very difficult where Stewart doesn't really have it that hard, because you're stepping into a character that's already established.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you were to just go ahead and write 2 or 3 chapters, and then I'd just get on there and read them, I say, whoa, wait a minute. That's not Charity. That's not the way she operates.
Yeah.
So then you wasted your time. So it's a lot better off that we communicate a lot closer on that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think, for me personally, working with somebody like Wayne and even Kim from, reading the manuscript and stuff, just hearing that, like, I'm not totally out of my mind and that I can do well and I'm going the right way. It's like, that's a big boost of confidence,
Yeah.
I think that's one thing about writing that a lot of people don't realize is that, you're working on a book for, 4 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it takes, plus. And like you don't know if you're writing anything that anybody's gonna like. I mean, you kind of have sort of an idea, but it's so easy to get lost in the woods and just have no clue if anyone's gonna be into your like erotic, alien, Caribbean, sci-fi mystery, which is what I'm writing. So I hope everybody likes that.
Is that going to be
Really
on
good.
Kindle Unlimited, Stewart?
Oh yeah. The
Okay,
sex
good.
scenes are super graphic. Everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Wayne. I hope you like it, buddy.
Well, I don't know if I needed to do this, but I also felt kind of an obligation to try to write in Wayne's style. And I think that it sounds like the rest of you truly were co-writing. And I know my name's on it, I'm a co-writer, but since the series itself was already established, not just the character, I didn't want it to be dramatically different. And so I found myself writing, like trying to hear, Wayne's style, his voice, as I was writing it instead of my own. So maybe that's why you didn't change much, Wayne. Maybe I accomplished that. I don't know.
Having narrated all of the other charities and then yours, it didn't strike me. I mean, it seemed to be in the same spirit. There was a little more internalization from Charity, which I think is exactly what he really wanted. So we got a little more of her internal thought process. But in terms of the overall action and everything and the boating, it was a charity book. So as someone who's not Wayne or you, I thought it was pretty much on the nose.
Well, the boat, Wayne, can I tell the story about how we met? Just a quick thing when we met. So Wayne and I met at a conference, and he was familiar with my series, my character, and I think had read at least one of them or whatnot. And we started talking, and he just kind of blurted out, maybe we can do something together. And we ended up having our characters appear in each other's books in the series. So my main character, Poppy McBee, shows up in Rising Charity, right?
Yeah.
Wayne, yeah. And we wrote those scenes and they overlapped, and we had so much fun with that. But what I didn't know is that same weekend when we met at the conference, when we had sat down for dinner, we had a whole conversation about sailing, because my husband and I have a sailboat. We've been sailing for quite a few years, and Wayne started talking about sailing, and we just really hit it off. We were just chattering for quite a while about sailing, and I think right then he thought that this person knows quite a bit that can fit right into Charity's life, and little did I know. But so it's kind of a funny thing to meet and have those things in common, and it just seemed to fall into place. Is that how you would describe it, Wayne?
Yeah, everything clicked. It was just one of those moments where you say, yeah, I wonder what would happen if Charity met, or if Jesse met Poppy. And my favorite scene was when Jesse swam from his boat to shore, and Poppy was on shore on a stakeout watching his boat because she thought he was a drug smuggler.
Yeah.
And in that scene, the same exact scene with the same exact dialogue in both books, totally different point of view. And at one point, Poppy asked Jesse what it was he ordered. And in Kim's book, Jesse turns to her and he looks her up and down and then starts telling her what it is. Well, in my book, he turns to her and he's like, oh, pretty girl, what am I eating? And he looks down at his food and back up. And it was just so fun to do that, and just change the point of view and make it totally different, absolutely different. The conversation was the same, the actions were the same, but the mental process was completely different.
Well, and so typical of two real human beings in that scenario, that a young woman would read his, the way he looked at her in certain ways, and he wouldn't intend it to be that way. So yeah, that was fun to play with.
Well, Dawn, how did you and Axel get together and start that first book? Or did you know each other before?
Yeah, we've known each other for several years before we decided to write together. We met on K-boards, and then some of us defected into a little group of our own, and so we got to know each other better. But yeah, I think we had known each other 3 or 4 years before I had asked Axel if he would write this spinoff with me. But I was a big fan of his, really, before I got to know him very well. When I read Sisters of Sorrow, his first book, before I think I published my first book. And so I was a big fan.
Now, the group that Don's talking about is it's a Facebook group, private Facebook group that myself and Don and Stewart and Axel all part of. And there's what, 25 or 30 people in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And
Something like that.
we've
Yeah.
become really, really close. And hi to the AC out there. I know some of y'all are watching.
Yeah,
But,
they're all like, oh, and Don looks like crap as usual. Don probably forgot about the podcast.
Oh.
and Wayne's drinking as usual. Speaking
Dawn,
of which,
oh, go ahead.
what's everybody drinking? That's always the question that comes up.
I'm drinking blackberry wine.
I'm drinking beer. Scotch ale, local here, WeMac. It's very good.
Hooray, beer.
I'm drinking Diplomatico rum.
Yeah, but none of you have a Paw Patrol cup.
Panama.
I just want to point that out,
Venezuela.
okay?
That's true. It's true.
Where's this stuff
Did
from,
Axel
dude?
chime in there? I mean, he's in the car, so.
He's behind
Well,
the wheel.
that's what I was gonna say. Is I'm still in the
Jeez.
car, so when I get home, I actually have. I'm not sure what I'm gonna drink. I haven't decided yet. I have a bottle of blackberry wine, but I'm not really in the mood for that tonight. So maybe
From Venezuela.
Bodhi. So we'll see. We'll see when I get home.
Well, I highly recommend Diplomatico. You stop by a liquor store, get yourself a bottle, and it's really good sipping rum.
From Venezuela.
Can you say the name again, Wayne? I didn't hear.
Diplomatico.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's a big bottle. You just drinking it straight there?
And it's
Typical Wayne. Now we're doing a commercial for the rum.
It makes this very satisfying sound.
There's a case in the mail for him right now.
Yeah. I
love
just
that.
got done narrating a section where he's going, this coffee? Why, it's from a small farm in Costa Rica. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, Jesse's a big coffee drinker. And I think about the 3rd or 4th book, somebody contacted me from Distant Lands Coffee Company asking for my address, my mailing address. They wanted to send me something. So he sent me a 2-pound bag of
Hacienda La Medida.
Hacienda La Manita Terrazzo. And I tried it and I thought, this is really good. So I started adding it to the book. And he started sending me more coffee. And I kept adding it to the book. And he sent me. And then, of course, he also drinks Pusser's rum. And the people from Pusser's, the president of the company was one of my readers. And he instructed his son, Jamie, to corner me as I was driving through Key Largo and presented me with a bottle of gunpowder proof. There were only 2 bottles in the country at the time, and I had one of them. And it's really beautiful Marine Corps decanter.
Nice.
So I'm still waiting for the Rampage Yachts people to call me, but that might be a while.
That's I have 2 goals as an author, and one is to get so much free shit that I can just live, never having to go to the grocery store ever again. They'll just send it to me. And number 2 is to get in a book and immediately be killed off, and then that's it.
Can I tell a similar coffee story, Wayne?
Yeah.
As you know, Coast series they're real businesses, and most of the owners have become good friends. And you met Kirk, who owns the coffee shop, on the cruise. But he found his way into the books because of our real first meeting when he took over that shop, and I just kind of copied our original kind of bristly beginning for my character Maggie and Kirk. And but when I went down after, I think it was my second surgery for the cancer, I spent almost 3 weeks there. And after me going in there 3 times a day for about a week, Kirk decided he could tolerate me. And he roasts his own beans. And so he was trying to come up with a new combo, a new blend. And he would try it out on me. And once we had the one that we both really liked, he said, well, why don't you name it? And I was like, I don't know, Kirk's Blend. And he's like, no. And I was like, how about Hurricane? And he said, why? And I said, because when you drink it, you got to grab onto something. And so the next time I went down there, I put it in the books. I put the Hurricane Blend in the books, and I had him blend it up for Maggie. And the next time I went down there, he's got this row of bins of coffee beans that customers can buy. And right at the end of the row is Hurricane Blend, made famous by Don Lee McKenna and the Forgotten Coast series. So now it's a real coffee. And what's cool is that readers go in there and they request like 5 pounds of this Hurricane Blend to take home with them. And I think it's really cool, that the readers are going in there and drinking the same coffee that they're reading about. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, readers email me all the time asking if Hacienda La Manita is real. I say, absolutely it is. You can get it just about any online store. It's hard to find a real coffee shop though.
Are there any questions floating in the YouTube feed, Wayne?
Let me check.
All right. While he's checking there, I'll mention that I gave Boone an Aquinas dive watch after someone at Aquinas asked about me doing something, but I have yet to see an Aquinas dive watch arrive in the mail. So
you went too easy, man. You gave it up on the first
I know.
day.
I probably should have. Well, maybe. I
I
don't know. I would need to know how well it works.
Well, nobody sent me a Chris Craft Corinthian either.
Dawn, I see a lot of posts from your fans about chickens. Does
Yeah.
this have a greater meaning?
Well, the most popular character in my Forgotten Coast series is a rooster named Stupid.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, he's got his own merchandise. He's got his stickers and his t-shirts and all of his other crap. So the readers like to send me a lot of chicken stuff, but I do love chickens. And something cool happened the other night. I posted a video on my fan page of this close-up of this hen checking out the camera. It was just too good. It was awesome. And I had gotten it from the owner of the chicken in the Backyard Chickens Facebook group. And so I had asked her, it wasn't shareable when she first posted it. And I said, can I share this? I would really like to share it. And she said, sure. And she made it shareable. And so I put it on my fan page. And a few minutes later, she messaged me and she said, oh my gosh. She said, I didn't know that was you. She said, I just read Squall Line. And I was like,
Oh, nice.
She's like, oh, it's Stupid. I was like, yeah. So all the readers were going, oh, it's Stupid. And then the owner of the chicken showed up and said, oh, it's Don Lee McKenna. Because it's just Dawn McKenna on my personal profile. And I guess she didn't really think about it, I thought that was kind of cool that I went and took her chicken and ended up, she was a reader. So, but yeah, the chicken's a big deal. It's a really big deal, which is probably why we have to have a cat in the other series.
The only question on YouTube is, let me find it again. If I can see who asked. T. Tukes asked, is gunpowder proof 100%? No, it's not. The story behind it is the ship's purser back in the old sailing days would go ashore to buy, stock for the ship, and one of his purchases would be rum for the daily ration of grog for the crew. And they had a way of testing if the rum was strong enough or too strong or too weak. They would put a little bit of gunpowder in a dish and then a little bit of rum in the dish. And then he'd use a magnifying glass and shine the magnifying glass on the rum and gunpowder mixture. And if the gunpowder ignited before the rum, it was too weak. If the rum ignited before the gunpowder, it was too strong. But if they both ignited at the same time, it was proof that it was the right strength. And that's 138 proof.
Cool.
There was
That's
another question.
where the term proof came from.
Oh, sorry. There was another question, perhaps I'm biased, but Patricia Wood asked what our new series is about, Wayne.
Well, in Rising Water, there were a couple of new characters that appeared. What's DJ's last name?
Martin.
DJ Martin. He goes back to Rising Charity. He first appeared in Rising Charity, and then reappears in Rising Water and helps Jesse out with the cult there in BVI. And Jerry Snyder and his wife were also in that book. They were the ones that found the body, and that was supposed to be the end of it, end of Jerry's part of the story anyway. And then I came up with the idea of making DJ and Jerry partners and finding somebody to co-write that. And Stewart actually volunteered to write the charity series before Kim did it. So I said, well, if you really want to do it, here you go.
And I did. So I did it. I was like, Wayne, for you, buddy, I'll jump off a bridge.
But it's a really good story. It revolves around DJ Martin, who's a medically retired Army Ranger, and Jerry Snyder, who's a former Air Force parajumper and police detective. And they join forces to outwit the bad guys. And in Wayward Sons, it's not their first mission, but it's their first big mission.
Yeah, it's one of the early ones. Yeah, well, then like the plot of the book is that an investigative journalist is murdered, right? And basically, Jerry and DJ are sent to figure out why. That's the thing. It leaves the bigger things. There's a lot about, I'll say, abuses of the pharma industry and, how people are taken advantage of, which I found really compelling. I remember one of the early conversations we had, Wayne, was I was like, I've been thinking about this thing, and I've been thinking about how, I read this article about how, one treatment of like this drug for spinal deformities for infants was like $1.2 million, something crazy like that for one treatment, one year. And then, Wayne started telling me about, other things like other experiences he's had with that sort of thing. And, I just, every time I start talking about that idea with people, it was just like somebody had a story, somebody has had this happen where, they had to take some drug and it was like, $8,000 or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And I realized like that touches on so many different people's lives. And that's, that's so relevant. It felt like a really compelling story put together.
And it came out just absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to.
Me too, buddy. I'm waiting for that start. I'll tell you.
Our whole plan was to submit this to Thomas and Mercer.
Yeah.
But I'm so anxious to get it out there. I don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
That's the control freak in me.
Yeah. And I like I said, I mean, for me, the process of putting that book together was such a huge confidence building exercise. Especially when you and Kim and I all talked on the phone together, and you guys were talking about, hey, what's with this villain that you're writing? What's his deal? Can we use him for other books? Like that to me was like the ultimate endorsement. Like like two people I really respect and really, admire as writers, then asking me, they can use one of my characters that I came up with. I'm like, yeah, like I'm some nobody, you guys, so that to me was like, all right, I'm on to something here. I got to stick with this. So if it fails and it all goes wrong, I know Wayne and Kim, I'm going to blame you guys. So I hope you're okay with that.
I don't think
there's
this is going to fail in any way.
There's a cameo appearance in there.
There is a cameo appearance of a
It's,
character that, if you're familiar with Wayne Stinnett books, you will recognize. I am sure. Don't want to give it away.
Yeah, that was done really well.
Yeah.
DJ's sitting down at the bar saying, I need a little charity here.
Don't give it away. Come on, man.
So what's in the future for Axel and Dawn?
You first,
what are y'all
Axel.
working on now?
We're working on our number 4. Well, I'm working on our number 4. I know Axel's got his own series that he's got to work on as well. And I'm hoping to get my parts of our number 4 to him in 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully that'll jibe with his writing schedule. And then I'm off to do a super secret project.
Ooh.
That's
Is it
probably
Cricket
the
Jar?
hardest part in team writing is scheduling.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we've all got
definitely,
our own
hands down.
standalone books. I've got my Jesse series, and Kim's got Poppy and Stewart. We've all got our own series. Plus, we're trying to write and share information with each other, and it gets difficult sometimes. You get bogged down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when's the next charity book, Kim?
Well, I've been
I'm putting you on the spot here.
no, that's okay. Because we haven't talked in a while. So I've been plugging along. We're taking way too much time on the most recent Poppy book, and I'm hoping to get that finished to be able to fully focus on charity. But with everything going on with the pandemic and stuff, I've had some life changes lately, so haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I used to or what I'd like to. But I'm still plugging along over here. So.
And Axel, what are you working on?
So I think I'm going to have a book 4 release in either October or November. I just don't know if it's going to be my book 4 or Don and I's book 4. It's going to be one or the other. I'm about
Trying to do
2/3
both
of the way
at the same
through.
time?
Sorry, say again?
You trying to do both at the same time?
Well, I'm about 2/3 of the way through my book 4, but I'm going to put that on the shelf and take on the one that Don sends me as soon as he gets here. So it just depends on how that works. My book 4 is going really slow, so it'd be probably good to have a break and do something else. But after that, after those 2 books are out, the series book with Forgotten Coast and then with my Darren McDaniel series, those 2 books, when they're out, I want to do a series of shorter stories, like 15,000, maybe 20,000 word short stories, and try and put 2 or 3 of those out to direct traffic back to my main series, my Darren McDaniel series. It needs to be read in order, and it makes it difficult to market because every time I have a new book come out, I've got to push book 1 because it doesn't make any sense for somebody to start with book 4.
Yeah.
So
wait till you get to book 18.
Well, sure. No, yeah, exactly. So what I'm thinking I want to do is if I have a series of standalone shorts, I can get out there for free or cheap, and then use those to direct people back to book 1. And then I may consider doing a spin-off series that is also a bunch of standalone series with a different main character.
I've read the first one in the McDaniel series, and it was absolutely incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
The opening scene with the little girl in the phone booth, and it just tore at your heartstrings.
Well, I appreciate that. That was, I was very happy with the way that turned out.
That's got to be hard to write too.
It is. Yeah, it is. But it's also, you know, when I grew up, there was a lot of, like, we don't want to talk about the bad stuff. We want to focus on the good things in life. And then there's this kind of pretending like bad things don't happen.
Mhm.
And it's pervasive. And I think that it's important to say, no, there's stuff that needs to be dealt with. And if we don't look at it, we can't deal with it. And I know, you know, some of the readers were kind of upset by that. They're like, this is too dark for me. It's like, well, okay. But somebody's got to look at it. Somebody's got to deal with it. And that's kind of what the theme of that book was all about, is,
Yeah.
you know, you can't look away from everything that makes you uncomfortable. So.
Very true. Well, Nick, do you have anything to add?
Not really. I've just been sort of sitting back and not talking about narration for once. This has been fascinating. I don't have any co-writers, but I've certainly done a little cameo stuff with you, and Nicholas Harvey and I have been talking. AJ Bailey might bump into Boone and Emily at some point. So that's sort of a tiny mini version of co-writing, I guess, because you need to get the characters right. But the idea of putting together a whole plot with someone is a little intimidating, I gotta say. I'm super impressed at all you guys.
Speaking of which, Nick Harvey asks on YouTube, how do you guys share your manuscripts back and forth with co-writers, and can both work on them at the same time? That's a really good question. Stewart and I use Google Documents.
Yep.
But we found out pretty early on that
Doesn't work too well.
it gets really slow with a long document. So we broke it down into six pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And we can actually work on the same page at the same time. I can see him make a change, he can see me make a change, and it's constantly saved and updated.
Yeah.
And with Kim, we just send it back and forth. And how do y'all do it, Dawn?
Well, wrong apparently.
We did
No.
the Google Docs at
Okay. Well,
first.
for instance, yeah, with number 4, which I'm starting, I'll write all my parts and highlight all his and send it to him, and then he'll Axelize all the parts I wrote, and he'll write his scenes and send it back to me, and I Dawnify all the stuff he wrote, and then we say, are you good? Yeah, I'm good. Are you good? Yeah, I'm good. And then we send it to the editor and we're done. We tried the Google Docs thing. And we tried, I don't know, a couple different ways of working on it at the same time. And I was ready to shoot myself. Of course, I have ADD, so I'm not really good with too many movable parts. But we kept having these scares where the wrong scene or the wrong version of something was being put into the final manuscript. We had too many versions, I think. And it scared the crap out of both of us. So yeah, that didn't work for us. I like what we do now. And, you know, I think it works. And maybe, you know, that may be because our, you know, Axel and I, despite the fact that what he writes is on his own is a whole lot darker than what I write, we have really similar writing styles. And, you know, his strengths are really great with my weaknesses. And so it just seems to work for us to do it that way. And I think if we tried to work simultaneously, yeah, I think it would be a calamity, actually.
Yeah, we'd be tripping over each other. The one thing that I like about working with Dawn, not that there's only
there is
one,
one.
But
it's
like
not my
humor.
consistency.
We're both telling the same joke at the same time. But no, it gives me a lot of freedom because I can write crazy stuff that I wouldn't feel confident writing if it was just me. And then I'll just say, Dawn, fix this. And then she usually doesn't. She's like, no, this is great.
No, I don't have
Yeah.
to. No. I love everything he writes. You know, the only thing, with the first book is I had to talk him into using a contraction or two in the
I
entire
just
book.
cannot do that.
I know you can't.
Nice.
But you know, and he wasn't comfortable with writing that much about Florida or Southerners. You know, he felt like he wasn't really equipped for it. So I would go
living
in,
on the Canada border, that kind of goes.
yeah.
That's understandable.
I would unredneck a little bit.
I gotta tell a funny story about our that review that we got. We got a review that was bashing us for making redneck Floridians look bad because they're all
written
meth
by a
addicts and wife
tourist.
beaters.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that pretty much all of the redneck drug addict wife beaters are people that I run into up here in my job. So they're none of those were based on Floridians. They're based on Pacific Northwesterners. So
Yeah.
that cracked me up.
Well, we had a bunch. What was funny was we had a bunch of other reviewers jump on that review on Amazon and say that chick's a tourist. She doesn't live here, you know, because so many locals review our books on Amazon, you know, and I mean, there's 2,500 people in the entire county. They know each other, you know, and so many people in their reviews, they said, oh, in that review, you know, up there that said something about the rednecks, she doesn't even live here. And by the way, my uncle's just like that. So yeah, we got all this, we got defended very nicely. It was funny. Yeah. That
Well,
woman had no clue what she was talking about.
My new book features a local clan called the Blanc family in Southwest Florida. And I straight up stole that from the Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, a Netflix series. And it was just so outrageously backwoods redneck as you can get. I grew up in, well, I didn't grow up in West Virginia, but I was born and raised there. And watching that show, I could see people that I knew, family members. That's where we were headed if we didn't move to Florida. And thank God my dad moved us to Florida when I was little. But it's just a lot of, I like taking real characters and fictionalizing them. And in doing it that way, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the clock on the wall says we are out of time. It is 7:32. We've actually run over a little bit.
Well, it was a lot of fun.
I want to thank all of you all for being here with us. This was definitely a lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you to Pirate Radio for sponsoring us, and Down Island Press for the studio. Captain Ron with Pirate Radio. He's just right over there. He broadcasts from the Down Island Press studio. He'll be going on the air again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So thank you guys for being on here with us. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Wayne.
Good
night, y'all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Yeah, you got to turn on your camera and your mic, Don.
I'm going to just, I know it says we're live, but I'm just going to wait until it appears on YouTube so I can share it.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you,
There you
Kimberly.
Oh, there she is.
All right, good. Glad
All
to get
now-
back on.
I just want to say that I literally just ran in the house from the garden. It's a long story. No makeup. I'm probably covered in worms, but it's all right.
I mean, we expected that from you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, buddy.
It's not like I take these things seriously.
Hey, I got to work right now, okay? Can you go upstairs? I gotta work.
Aw.
You say hi? What? No, Mommy can do that. Mommy can do that. Buddy, I'm working right now. Hopefully
Don.
that's.
Sorry.
Hey.
You close the door.
Oh,
You
don't
take
shush
this
her,
dog out of here?
Matthew.
Oh, Don wants to say hi to you.
Yeah.
Nobody else, so.
Hi.
How are you? You doing all
She
right?
says, she says, how are you? Doing all right?
Yeah.
That was a pretty delayed yeah.
COVID. Ugh.
Yeah, we're tired of it.
Yeah.
Come on. Go.
Go on, Lucy. Go.
Ugh. She's just gonna scratch at your door.
That's fine.
Talk to me, Jordan.
What?
Why are we not live on YouTube?
We are.
It's not appearing.
Well, if you're not, I'm going to try to get comfortable.
It'd be great if we get Dawn tripping and falling
My
on
phone
YouTube.
tells me
Oh,
we're live.
there she
Oh,
goes.
We are.
I don't see the video.
And we lost Dawn from the participant.
That'll probably happen a couple times.
Okay.
She'll come back with like a bloody nose. Like, Dawn, what happened?
Wait, it has her as an attendee. As opposed to a panelist.
Oh, hey, I see us live.
Okay, I was on.
We're on YouTube right now, baby.
Yes, we are. Okay, I'm.
There we go.
You know, it's no fun talking shit about Axel when he's not listening.
Okay, we are live on YouTube.
Oh,
So-
that's nice.
Anyway, welcome to the Talk Right podcast, everyone. As you can see, we have a full house this evening. We've got Don. Yes, I'm talking. We've got Don Lee McKenna in the house.
Hi.
And I'm hearing it now too.
Can you hear me, Wayne?
Okay, let me start over.